Hello, everybody, and welcome to Arsenal X, Boss Rush's Xbox podcast, where we squad up to infiltrate the news. I am here today with...
Wow.
I'm sorry. Did you
Was
see
this
the look on
rehearsed
my
already?
face?
No, that's something that, I did it last week, but I just was like, I want to try to do something that's like, I don't know, kind of goes along with the name.
I'm sorry.
But-
I feel like an asshole now.
It's
Because
honestly,
I had this really cool like exhibit
Yeah.
song lyric queued up. So like when you introduced me, that's what I have planning. So
yeah.
I mean it's probably just as equally lame. But man, I'm sorry. I just totally ruined the intro.
No, it's
Welcome
fine.
to EXPcast, where we ruin
Yeah.
every intro.
We just ruined everything.
Yeah, it's today is a Arsenal X EXPcast crossover.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's a lot of X's. That's
a lot
of
three
X's.
X's right there.
Yeah,
Yep.
Exactly.
3 X's.
We
So
either
we should call this
porn
the
or
Triple X?
strikeout.
We should
Yeah.
call this the Triple X podcast or something like that.
Yeah.
Hardcore, man. Hardcore.
Yeah. Does that mean that we definitely have to label this as not kid friendly this week?
Oh,
Generally, yes.
whenever we're around, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Put the kids to bed.
Mm-hmm. Get ready for the X.
X to the Z, and we all in the family.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we can throw up the X. But yeah, so I am your host, Jesse Douglas, and I am here with Stoy and Pat of, like we said, EXPcast. A great show you definitely should go check out.
Oh, thank you, Jesse.
Definitely
Thank
go
you.
check it out.
Just
I-
put the kids to bed first. Seriously. Like
Yeah.
our topics this week immediately jump right into sex communities. So
Yeah.
It was weird because I think I talked about how I rode by an adult camp
Yeah.
and it was like apparently a sexual freedom camp. So
mhm.
Like a
there are those.
like a new like those nude like the swingers
it's-
community.
Yeah, basically a bunch of 60-year-old dudes walking around like, where all
Yeah.
the young women at?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Just for anyone, if you haven't been to one, if you hear the words nude beach, chances are when you go there, the only people that are going to be nude is the people you don't want to see nude.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yep.
But yeah, so how's your guys week been? Is there we could, you know what, why don't we just get right into it? We can kind of talk about if there's anything that you guys have been playing. We could start with you, Pat.
Okay. Well, I actually have been playing a indie title right now called Ender Lilies, Quietest of the Nights. It is a 2D Metroidvania that has the art style of like a Vanillaware game.
Okay.
It has like the effects and like the background, like livable backgrounds like Ori in the Blind Forest or Will of the Wisps.
Oh, no.
It's a dark fantasy and it has a lot of Souls like melee focused combat. So it's a lot of like time your attacks and dodge or else you're gonna get massively slaughtered.
What is the name of the game?
Ender Lilies.
Glad I
Okay.
can change that because
Mhm.
I put that in the description for our upcoming episode, and I wrote Elder Lilies.
Oh
So-
no, it's woo. We're not Elder Scrolls or Souls or it's
Yeah.
Ender.
Ender, got it.
Yeah.
All right, fixed.
Mhm. But this is an absolutely beautiful game. Like there are Metroidvanias, when you hear Metroidvania, it's like a dime a dozen for like, Metroidvanias. But this one I would definitely put up there as top quality Metroidvania. The combat is actually very fluid. You find yourself like it's got a lot of depth. As you progress through the game, you fight off kind of boss battles. Like they're like miniature boss battles, and also like your main boss battles, which are like multi-phase. Like take down these gigantic enemies that have multiple life bars and like change up their tactics. But once you beat them, you can purify their soul and then use their souls as attacks. So, like for example,
Like a summon, like almost like a summon.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So like one of the earlier bosses is a witch, and after you beat her, you have the ability to throw fireballs as your main attack rather than use a sword. Or you'll find like you'll fight this giant like almost Viking guy, and when you beat him, you get this like really heavy club base attack. Or in the this little miniature mid bosses also give you different abilities too. Like one of my favorite ones is a crow that constantly like joins you and shoots fireballs in like multiple directions towards bad guys, and these are like semi homing fireballs too. So
Oh, nice.
it's been actually pretty helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, this game looks, it looks amazing. I was just looking up pictures of it and stuff. It definitely has those like the really, really good parts of like the Castlevania type, like those newer Castlevania type games with the backgrounds and the high resolution and
castles.
yeah, it looks amazing.
Yeah, the story's good. You play as a white priestess who wakes up in a kingdom that's basically been ruined by something called the Reign of Death, which causes a plague called the Blight. And the Blight eventually makes people transform into monstrosities and also makes them lose their mind. So, and your job is to kind of go around and purify these souls so that you can figure out like how the Blight came to be and, put a stop to it. And it's actually also got some really great music. Like every boss battle is like someone that used to serve the white priestesses. So it's almost like a very tragic music is playing in the background. And once you beat them, you kind of get some cutscenes that explain their story. So, it's a very touching, emotional, like kind of game. But it's definitely got some challenge with its combat.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely looks like something I want to check out because
it intrigued me. I know.
Well, and that's just a really cool concept with the whole like the kind of the summons, like when you beat beat a boss or beat a mini boss, of kind of being able to summon their attacker ability or whatever. Like that's really unique, and it's something that you're like, why haven't anyone thought about this before? Like it's such a kind of a simple but brilliant concept.
Mega Man would like a word with you, bro.
Well, yeah. Well,
the entire Mega Man series.
Yeah. I mean, they're obviously.
But I know what you mean. Yeah.
It's not something.
It's a little bit different.
No, it definitely makes your it gives you the ability to just customize to how you want to play. So if you want to do more range attacks, by all means, set your spirits up so that, they do range. If you're a melee heavy hitter, by all means, do that too.
Yeah.
A little mix of both is how I go.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It definitely, it looks amazing, and it sounds like a great game. So yeah, I'll definitely be checking that out.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's no surprise to anyone who owns a Switch. I've been playing Zelda. Great game, very beautiful.
You liking it?
I'm liking it.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people have said that they really are getting the chance to enjoy it with the ability to not have to use motion controls. Have you found yourself not using motion controls at all then, or have you tried both?
I tried both. I actually prefer the button controls. Which the sword is using the right D-pad, and you kind of flick it in the direction that you want to slice.
Right analog stick.
Yeah.
Thank you. Analog stick, not D-pad.
Okay. Yeah. Because I know I've heard that a lot of people have said like it's an amazing, like that they love the story in it and stuff, but it really, the only thing in the past holding them back was the was that the controls, and the first hour is kind of a slag. I've heard a little bit, but once you get past that, then it opens up a bit. Which,
well, yeah, we were talking about that at the Video Game Summit, how Twilight Princess was kind of the same. It was a pretty long, drawn out, like, set up the world and everything.
You almost don't get the first dungeon until like 4 hours into the game.
Yeah, I think that's what most people said. It's about a good 3 hours, 2 or 3 hours in the beginning of Twilight Princess that just is not fun. But once you get past that, then it really, really opens up. But
well, I mean, from a setup point, I mean, it's setting up the world. It's setting up where Link comes from, because we know every Link is different to a point. I mean, in every Legend of Zelda game, it starts out with Link sleeping because he's apparently a lazy piece of trash. But he gets woken up, and it was funny in this one, like those Skywing, those Loft Wings.
Yeah,
like he's just staring at him, spits a piece of paper at him, and just leaves.
That was like the best waking up intro so far.
Yeah, for sure. That bird's just looking at him. Link is like, "What do you want?" Here's a letter. Bam,
and how the letter? Oh wait, no, the letter doesn't smack Link. It just hits the ground pretty hard.
Yeah, it just hits the ground. Yeah, but no, yeah, but yeah, a lot of those, they set up the story and they set up the world, especially in this one, which is, Skyloft. You're living in the sky.
Yeah.
But so spoilers, my gosh, just kidding.
Sorry.
So that's pretty much it then for you, Pat, for what you've been playing.
Yep. This coming up week is going to be a big one. So in terms of releases. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's already kind of started with X. Like, I mean, there's a couple of good things. I'll talk about them when it's my turn. But yeah, there's already, it's already starting. Yeah.
Some good stuff coming out for Game Pass coming out this week. So we'll talk about that one night when we get to it. But
yeah. Stoy, what's in your arsenal?
I played a lot lately. I actually jumped back into Assassin's Creed for the Xbox, and I realized how far behind I still am. I still have a few regions to unlock, but I just Pat, you'll be with me on this one. I just saved my brother,
Yep.
quote unquote, and he came back and he's completely changed, and I was like, motherfucker, I should have just left you there. It's like, you ungrateful little piece of trash, but whatever. That's beside. I know there's some other bigger story at play there, but otherwise, I've been playing that. I forgot to mention actually, Doom Eternal just got its upgrade at the beginning of July, and it's got 4K, 60 frames a second, high quality. Like, it runs and looks like Doom should in this new generation, like silky smooth frame rate. Like, we're talking, like, obviously when you're getting into those frantic battles, like, there's no blur, like, everything is just like super top notch. There's no stutter, and everything is in full high detail, especially in a lot of
ray tracing.
Yeah, ray tracing.
In it.
And the one thing I'm always impressed with is just like the draw distance. Like, Doom has a lot of like big open areas with a lot of things in the background, and you can see all of it. Like, everything is in full view. They don't have to like blur things out because of hardware limitations. Like, everything is there, and everything is in like full detail, and it's like just amazing just to like stand and look around in that game. So and that's free. So if you own Doom Eternal for the Xbox One, this is a free upgrade for you. So
yeah.
And even better, if you have the Game Pass, it's also free for you.
It's free. Everything.
Yeah.
It's free for $14.99 a month.
Yeah. So you're still paying money, but
it feels like it's free.
Yeah, for sure.
I was having a really difficult time with that game because I just was not good at the, like, juggling all the different things that I need to make sure I'm doing to refill my ammo.
Put it on easy, bro.
Yeah.
Use that chainsaw.
Yeah, I'm tempted to restart it again now, especially with that upgrade. I was thinking about that because I'm like, you know what? F it. If I want to go on baby mode or whatever it's called,
don't hurt me, mommy, or something like that.
Yeah. Don't hurt me, daddy.
Don't hurt me, daddy. That was it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I just wanna experience the the story, because like that Doom 2016 is still one of my favorite, and I kind of wish we would get an upgrade to that game.
Yeah, that would be
Like,
pretty cool. But
Mhm.
but I
yeah,
like
I was gonna
moving
say it was
forward.
weird because we talked about this before that Doom Eternal gave us a story and lore to Doom that none of us asked for.
Yeah,
But it's like still great. Like this is cool.
Yeah.
Like I'm actually reading codex entries. Like it's
Yeah.
not something I'd expect to do in a Doom game, but
Yeah.
it's still cool that they build a world. They built a world around it, and they gave Doom guy kind of like a character. Like
Yeah.
obviously people are interacting with him and talking to him, and they're
They
all of a
give
sudden
him a
just like,
voice.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
and it's somewhat of a
Mhm.
face too. I feel like didn't they
Yeah.
have like something like where you could kind of see through his shield or something
yeah,
like that
you can
this time
you can
around?
in certain scenes, yeah, but
In the DLC, you see the full thing. It's basically generic BJ Blazkowicz,
Yeah,
but
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah, I didn't realize, Pat, that I actually bought the deluxe edition, so I got Ancient Ones 1 and 2 for free.
nice.
oh nice.
So yeah, whenever whenever I jump back into it, which who knows when now at this point. Too many games coming out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like another one that I picked up that I talked a lot about is I'm a racing guy, so seeing as how as I don't have Forza as the simulation racer coming out
Yeah.
this year, F1 2021 is like my simulation racer now. So
okay.
it's got a story mode.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
they were kind of talking about that, and so yeah, you haven't played it yet, but you just kind of got it.
No, I played it.
Oh, did you?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, I played a decent amount of it last night.
Okay.
And even like Saturday, even just Friday night, I ended up picking it up on Friday. So, but yeah, the story mode is kind of like you pick a team, and it's like basically an F1. It's like you and another driver are competing in
Yeah.
the same race, and it's basically the dichotomy of the young driver, the young new driver. He's the kind of young Padawan, whatever, and his teammate is like the older seasoned driver, and just them
Yeah.
butting heads throughout the entirety of the season. So you have like pre-scripted events that happen. I know there was like one point where I was like dominating, and all of a sudden the game cut me off, and then played a cutscene where I crashed into my own teammate, and I was like, man, I was doing so well, and now it's like you got to like end my game abruptly. But I know they're trying to tell a story, so it was like
Yeah.
fine, no big deal. But I mean, if you
Yeah.
want to do a full career mode just by yourself, like obviously the options are there for you. But no, I mean, I'm playing this on the PlayStation 5, so it looks good. It runs smooth, 60 frames a second. Like, I mean, I turn off all motion blur when I play racing games because the blur just like it seems like it takes a lot of the detail out of games,
Yeah.
especially when you're fast moving. So I completely turned it off. I slid the slider down all the way to 0, and yeah, it just looks. I mean, it looks and runs amazing. Like you don't need motion blur.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of the times the motion blur is for like when you're playing like in a lower resolution.
Yeah,
Because
like
it's not
I mean, it
really
worked for
going
like
to look
older
great
games.
anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, it worked for older games on older hardware that couldn't process that many frames per second. But I think now we're in the generation where, yeah, it's like 60 frames a second, easy. Some games are going to be running 120.
Yeah,
So,
and it's gonna feel like a more natural blur of the moving fast,
yeah,
like
for sure.
like you would in your car, So
Yep. So, but otherwise, I'm going to write a review on this game, Chicory. And I'm not going to talk about it too much, but what a game! Like, totally defied my expectations of what I thought this game was.
Okay.
It's a colorful game that looks colorful and looks like kind of feel goody, but it is not at all.
Okay.
It deals with some heavy issues with depression, anxiety, crippling depression to a certain extent, and just feeling worthless and kind of self-conscious. And it's it deals with a heavy subject matter. But one thing we talked about earlier today is that it has a lot of quality of life options. So you can disable wet sounds. So have you ever had that where you cook macaroni and you're stirring it?
Yeah.
And it makes that sound that.
Yeah.
So you can disable that sound in the game, because there's like a mode where you're swimming through paint and it makes that sound as you're moving through.
Yeah.
So apparently, if that triggers people, and I'm sorry if you're listening to this and that triggered you, you can actually turn that sound off.
Okay. Huh.
Which is kind of neat,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting when you start, like, I mean, there's the obvious ones like when lights and flashing and things like that. If people who have seizures and things like that.
Well, what is that? That game Grounded. The game Grounded for the Xbox has like it's a spider mode where you can like remove the image of the spider.
Yeah.
And all you're attacking is a set of eyes.
Yeah, arachnophobia mode or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. Which is a great movie. I loved that movie as a kid. I seen it.
Yeah, no kidding.
Probably too young to see it as a kid, but I loved that movie.
It was PG-13, I think.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of us got away with that, seeing that when we were younger, and it's like we probably shouldn't be watching this, but
yeah, because basically they would have a bad scene, and then you just see the spider crawling away or something like that. It was like the rest was put up to your imagination.
Yep, as long as it didn't have blood, you can get away with it.
Yep. Yeah. And as long as they only said the F word once.
Yep.
But that's, I mean, I played a slew of other things, but I'll leave it at that.
Okay. All right. Yeah, as far as it goes for me, I've just kind of been playing some of the games that they added to Game Pass this week or whatever, last week. Technically it would be last week when you're hearing this.
Yeah.
So I played the beginning of Last Stop. That's that new game that we seen a while back. That's kind of like a very story driven kind of game, and like I really like how they set this game up. So like you start off, there's 3 different people you can pick from, and then whatever person you pick, you kind of you start out the story and how it starts off from their perspective, and then you get to a certain point in their storyline, and then it will just kind of end it there. Like that's the end of that chapter of that person's life or experience, and then you pick a new person, and then it does the same thing where it it ends at the first chapter of their experience, and then you pick the third person, and then it just kind of it slowly will play out as the all the characters kind of their experiences intertwine and become part of this this main story of what's going on. The controls and everything I think have been really good. Like there's some some things that I think they did they did it just fine with the camera stuff, but it is very much similar to some of those old Resident Evil kind of camera stuff where it will show you
fixed camera and then you're moving around. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So like once you get to a certain point, that fixed camera will then change to a different fixed camera, and and then you've got to be pushing a different direction to be moving forward but it gives you a good grace period of once it's switched to that one camera, where if you're still pushing forward, you're still moving forward for a second. And then
a lot of games, I mean, even just like the old PlayStation games that had that kind of feature always had that. It was just like, it was jarring to all of a sudden like, oh my God, I got to change the angle now. But it gives you that little grace period, that maybe a couple seconds where it's like, okay, I got to change now. So
and they did.
I don't care what people say. I like that. That style of like scene composition.
I know. I've always that's why I like still until the remake of Resident Evil 2 came out, like Resident Evil 2 has always been like up there as like my favorite game of all time. Like,
hell yeah, brother.
Because for me, that none of that camera stuff bothered me. I just after the first one, I got used to it, and I just it just was what it was, and I had no problems with it. I mean, there's times when you're, like one camera is showing an enemy in front of you, but the other one kind of isn't or whatever. But you just dealt with it. It wasn't a big deal.
Well, a lot of it is scene setup. Like the game developers want to focus on something. Like that scene in the police station where like you're walking around that partition, and then the camera beams to the window where all of a sudden you see a liquor move across it.
Yeah.
So it's like if it was like a free roaming camera, a lot of times you may have missed that. But the fact that the developers wanted you to see this, that just adds to the tension. So I think it helps from a game developer standpoint that it's like, we don't want you to miss this stuff. We don't want you to lose out on this experience. Obviously, if we want to play something that maybe would add tension or suspense to it.
Yeah.
So
or we don't want you to see quite yet the dog running down the hallway barreling towards you. We want you to be able to hear them first.
Yeah.
And
hear that window smash, and then all of a sudden, like, what the hell was that?
Yeah. Like, so in this game, they do that, and it's like there's some really cool like sci-fi kind of stuff going on then in this
because this is about an alien invasion, right?
Yeah, essentially that's what it is. Like you kind of very early on you realize that things are kind of weird, and like it kind of like there's this boy who's living in like an apartment, I think, and there's this guy, this handsome looking guy that lives across the street from him, and he just kind of would notice that this guy is constantly bringing different women and men over to his house, like bringing them into the house, but he would never see anyone leave. And so he's like, well, what's going on? And so then they're a bunch of teenagers. They kind of get nosy, and he leaves his place at some point, and then you kind of follow him, and that's all I'll really say with that. I don't want to really spoil anything, but yeah, it's like so far I'm really enjoying the kind of like getting to play different like characters and experience different things and have it kind of merge. I know some people don't like that kind of stuff, but like that was honestly like one of my favorite parts about Wild Arms. Is I loved that you kind of played as the three different characters, and then like you had these long paths of just playing as them, and then it all kind of merged together as one story. That that's kind of like in some ways a vibe that I got from this is just like I like when you get to kind of get a story building for a character or whatever before they get thrown into the main story. I do really like that about this, and like I said, like the controls and stuff I think work really well. So far it's it's gonna be more of your like puzzle solving kind of like there's like it's more just like button pressing or combination type stuff for certain things. Like I don't like there's a part where I was trying to take a video of someone sneakily with my phone, and we were hiding, and I accidentally let up on one, because it's like first you got to hold this button, and then you hold this button, and then you hold this button. You got to keep them all held down at the same time. And I accidentally let go of one of the buttons, so my character knocked something over, and then we had to run away. So
I'm
now
getting a lot of David Gage game drives like Heavy Rain and Detroit Become Human, where it's like you have to hold L2 and R2 and then the X button to hold your breath or something like that.
Yeah. So I don't know if that ultimately was going to be what happened if I didn't mess up the buttons, or if that just altered the storyline. So those are the kind of little things that I'm kind of excited and interested in finding out as I go on. Which would also be a good reason for replay value if there is kind of some differences in that. So yeah, I'm definitely enjoying that game a lot, and it's not like visually it's not the most impressive thing in the world, but like, you know, like that's never really been what indie games are about. It's about that mixture of the interesting art styles and more, you know, focusing on the actual storytelling. You know, if it tells a good story, I don't care what kind of, you know, art style or whatever it's in. But yeah, so I've been playing that and enjoying that a lot. And then I also had started the Raji game,
Oh
uh,
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
which I'm really enjoying that as well. Like that's another game where there's kind of like they've got, you know, the a fixed camera type kind of thing, and it's not quite top down.
It's
It's like
isometric.
it's yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
right in that and like you kind of can walk different directions and stuff like that, or go different paths that you'll see, but you're kind of looking at it at a different angle. And that's very much like your typical like game where you've got like different abilities and you've got like a weapon that you can use to do your main attacks, and you learn different abilities and things like you can run up a wall and then jump off the wall and do a special kind of uh like downward attack with your weapon, or you know, different things like that, or at one point you get kind of this like power up that where you can do like a smash thing, and then there's like it'll show a circular area and anything in that will get electrocuted to do
Yeah,
damage.
I haven't played this in a while. I've got it
Yeah.
for the Switch like months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's I know it's been out for a while, but yeah, it just recently they added it to Game Pass, so I was like, you know what, I've seen this multiple times in the past, and I've kind of always wanted to play it,
Mhm.
because it looked like my kind of game, and so yeah, I finally Game Pass, you know, gave me the chance to be able to play it, you know, and check it out, and yeah, I'm really enjoying it a lot.
Yeah, it's got a lot of good lore to it. You know, it's a part
Yeah,
of the
good
world
culture.
that we don't know too much about.
Yeah.
Yeah. I enjoyed the game up to a certain point. I did find the combat sometimes was a little bit unbalanced. Like there
Yeah.
were some guys are easy like fodder to your weapons, but then there's other people that can like shoot a fireball that'll kill you in 2 hits.
Mhm.
And they
Yeah.
love to throw those guys in against you.
Yeah, there's the early on, even there's the guys that kind of like, it didn't really seem like there was any kind of rhyme or reason, or like, you know, like sequence to their shooting, but they would like throw like that like green like fire like thing or whatever.
Yeah, those are the guys that would teleport across the screen, right? Are those
uh
the guys? I know there was an enemy type that would teleport across the screen, and it was like so hard to land hits because they would keep moving. I forget.
um those there might be those that come eventually, like, but these early ones, I think these guys are just like the early, like, just spit or throw a green like ball thing.
Oh yeah,
um
I know what
but
you're talking about then.
but it was like, yeah, there's no rhyme or reason to it. So, and like if you're attacking them, it wouldn't necessarily stop them from being able to shoot those either, which was kind of irritating, because then, you know, like while you're in the middle of an attacking them, they could still just be throwing those, you know, every couple of seconds or whatever. But yeah, I mean, and like you said, Pat, like that's kind of what intrigued me, is it is definitely a lore and a storytelling that we don't get a lot of.
Mhm.
So that definitely was intriguing, and yeah, like so far I'm enjoying it. It's, you know, it's definitely one of those games that are just kind of just sit down and just kind of relax and play it a little bit and enjoy it, because it does, you know, like I like the art style and like the models and world built, you know,
Mhm.
like how it looks and stuff, like the statues and things in it are really cool, and Yeah, and just like the storytelling, like you said, is just different enough that that makes it interesting, since it's something we don't get a lot of. So, but yeah, that for the most part is what I've been playing. I played a little bit of Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, the remaster or whatever.
Hell
I've been
yeah.
playing that too, and trying to get the gold for all the all your missions or whatever you want to call them. So.
Did you ever see the commercial that they posted for that?
I
It
did.
was almost like a 5-minute commercial with like this guy that lived his life. He was playing the game on the 360 and he got beat. And apparently he lived his whole life 10 years after the fact, like kept thinking about that moment. And even his girlfriend or his wife would just be like frustrated because like the guy is like just consumed by this thought. But then all of a sudden he gets the game in the mail, the remastered version, and then he finally beats him and then he can live on with his life. It's a stupid commercial.
I know I've seen commercials for it, but I don't remember if I've seen that one.
Yeah, that one's it's just weird. It's
Yeah.
just weird.
Yeah, but I like that. I like that when commercials change it up a bit and just do something really just obscure and weird. Like, I mean, we lived through the 80s and the 90s, like some peak weird commercial.
Was that with us that we talked about the Game Boy commercial with Lauren Holly?
Yeah.
Was that on this one? Yeah, where it was like she comes out like in her lingerie into this like 12-year-old kid, like chocolate cake, Game Boy, or me? Like what?
Yeah, it's like what? There was just such weird, even just like like I mean, Sega's intros, and when they would yell Sega, it was always something like really freaking weird, like a person with like three like multiple retinas in their eye or whatever, and just like like the weirdness.
Yeah, those are the weird decades. So
yeah, like Super Soaker and like
I miss those days.
Yeah. I just miss that. Yeah, the weirdness and fun. Like everything was colorful. Everything was just completely weird and bizarre. It was like a bizarro, like commercials were like a bizarro reality. Like it was like like reality, but everything was just really, really weird. And but I miss that. Like every once in a while I'll go back on like YouTube and watch like compilations of like old commercials that you're just like
I know that's a project we keep talking about doing, is kind of like doing a viewing party on Twitch or whatever, or YouTube or whatever, where we just watch these old commercials and just kind of roast them, or just be like, that was actually pretty good. But so
all right, so we'll get in. We'll actually, you know what, I didn't really do the intro, but I'll just
this is like an Ubisoft intro.
Yeah.
Really. You play 4 hours of the game, and then all of a sudden they just flash the title screen.
But so just really quick.
Immortals, Phoenix Rising, Pat.
Yep.
It was like 3 hours in, and all of a sudden Zeus is like, "That was the intro?
What the hell?"
Yeah, there's been a couple of things where they do that, and like I feel like they break the fourth wall, and they're just be like, "Oh yeah, by the way." I think there's a movie. Didn't a Mel Brooks movie do that? I want to say
all Mel Brooks movies do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's his shtick.
Brooks is notorious for breaking the fourth wall.
Yep.
Yeah. Man, talk about a movie creator that just like I don't think he could ever make something that I would not enjoy. But yeah, just really quick, I just wanted to remind people to definitely go to our website, check out all of our shows. You've got the guys here in EXPcast. Go check out their show, WASD and Beyond, Lore Together, Tower Casuals, 1v1 series with Celeste, which she does such an amazing job with those. Like those are just so much fun if you want to do other stuff, other stuff outside of even gaming, just getting to really know people. It's fun. Pow Block, our Nintendo podcast, and Crossroads, our PlayStation show.
Boo.
And,
Arsenal X, where it's at.
Yep, exactly. Throw up that X.
Oh, that's right. I forgot we're not streaming, so I'm doing this almost for nothing. But
X.
Well, people watching this later will enjoy it.
Yep.
And then we've got our entertainment section, LAN Party, Rope Talk, the wrestling podcast, Trash Talk, the sports podcast, and I believe they've got some kind of new things in the works. I know there's some stuff that they're doing with TikTok, I believe, as well. Some TikTok exclusive.
What?
TikTok exclusive stuff. So.
Oh, we got to stay relevant, I guess.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's not my medium to do things, but if it works for someone's content and something, ideas they want to do, I say go for it. It's not me. Like I'll watch stuff on there occasionally, but it's just
don't even have it.
There's just so many different things in the world going on and places to watch things. It's like I don't even get a chance to watch stuff on Twitch half the time as much as I would like to.
Yeah.
And
I was gonna say they just did a on the BossRushGames.com website. Someone just did a recap of the Ted Lasso season 2. And
yeah.
I've had, if I had a nickel for every time someone told me that I needed to watch Ted Lasso because it's a soccer comedy show basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm the soccer guy, so it's like
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe you still haven't watched Ted Lasso, and it's like I'm so bad at watching TV shows, like it's just I'm just bad at it.
And speaking of, I've said in the past, I'm not super into sports, but I was super excited for everyone in Wisconsin that the Bucks winning the championship and stuff. It was fun to see everyone excited. Like I said, it's not exactly my thing, but it's always
fireworks
fun.
Were going off in Milwaukee till at least 1 o'clock in the morning. I mean, it was thankful at least like because I live in a pretty densely populated area and people were lighting off fireworks in our neighborhood. And I mean, thankfully I didn't have to work the next day, but I mean, even if I did, I'd have been going in groggy anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I forget what podcast I was listening to, and they were talking about fireworks going off, and they weren't even in Wisconsin. They're in like California or somewhere, I forget. And they were talking about fireworks going off, and it's like, and then they mentioned, it's always fun to have something like that happening in a state where everyone, regardless of who you are, can get together and just celebrate. So it's crazy seeing those pictures of the people just filling the streets there around the stadium and stuff.
60,000 people.
Yeah. It was like more than even like when you see the people around the when a president is picked or whatever.
I was very fortunate. I actually work in the Deer District, so I got to go I actually got to work from home that week or last week.
Oh, okay, nice.
I missed the entire traffic and all that other fun jazz.
That's always the worst part is getting into the stadium is the easy part. It's the trying to leave.
Yep.
Yeah, sit there for like 3 hours before you can even leave the parking lot. Yeah, that's never fun. That's why hey, if you're one of those people who wants to leave like an hour before the game is actually done, just so you can get out, go for it. Listen
but it's the first quarter. It's like we're beating traffic.
Yeah.
But all right. Yeah. So just we'll leave it at that. Just go to our website and check out all the great stuff. There's a lot of stuff a lot of stuff for everyone. All right. So this next thing, Stoy, you had some stuff you wanted to talk about Game Pass a little bit and let people know.
Yeah, about like 5 days ago, Xbox just put out a news brief saying, here's what's coming out for Game Pass. And usually they do it about at the end of the month, where they'll put out like, here's what's coming next month, or here's what's coming by the end of the month. They give you like a little bit of a roadmap. So now we had this conversation with Ed last week where like there's 3 different services that Game Pass covers. Game Pass covers, the system. So like if you own a Xbox One or Series X, whatever, PC and the cloud, they have their up and running cloud gaming service. So you can play Xbox games literally on your phone or on your tablet or whatever. And I know just recently, like Microsoft won that they are actually allowed to have a Game Pass app on iOS, on iPhones. So that's kind of a good step in the right direction. But so we'll never see Google Stadia on it, but that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, so recently what they announced is Battlefield 5 is out on the cloud, which is cool. And Christ Tales, which is like a kind of like a side-scrolling JRPG action game that's out right now for all 3 services, cloud, console, and PC. Yeah, I don't know, Pat, is this something you looked at?
I did look at it. It's I hear it's pretty good, but it has some older JRPG tropes that maybe shouldn't have come with it, such as like no autosaves, and you have to manually save in a town. So you could go through a dungeon, get your ass kicked by a boss, and now you have like 30 plus minutes to regain again.
Yeah, isn't that that there is a reason those tropes are dead? Because no one likes
it. They say the story is actually phenomenal, and so are the characters. So
yeah,
I definitely will probably check it out since it's on Game Pass.
Yeah, because it blends like 3 different timelines. So you play, you'll visit a town in the past, and then you'll be in there in the present, and then you'll even get to, I guess, depending on your actions, you can rewrite the future, so to speak. So.
I know I've heard people talk about that game in the past, and yeah, there were quite a few people who are really enjoyed it a lot if you like those JRPG games. But
yeah,
I just wanted to say one thing really quick, is that the thing is I wish more people would instead incorporate the quick resume, so then they wouldn't have to worry about the like saving stuff quite as much. Like that could essentially like almost replace that in the future if they, in some ways. But
right.
if you could just turn it off.
I didn't realize that just like quick resume has to be encoded into the software of the game. So like it's not like it's something that just the system does for you. Like you have to actually code it into the game. Yeah. Because that's when I found out like not a lot of games have the quick resume feature, but the feature's there if you want to develop it for your game. So.
Yeah, and I think coming off the end of a generation into a new one, we'll probably slowly see that just be something that games will have. I hope, but yeah, we'll see, I guess.
Otherwise, here's one of the more interesting ones, and this one's out now as the time you'll be listening to this, and I think by the time you listen to this, most of the games will be out. You got Atomic Crops, which is an action-packed roguelike bullet hell farming simulator game.
Huh. Does that work?
You have to tend to crops that are mutated, because this is a post-apocalyptic. I forgot to add that one. It's a post-apocalyptic wasteland that you're in. You can marry townsfolk, kind of like Stardew Valley, or what's that other one? Harvest Moon. Pat, you can collect cats in this game.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. And obviously it's a bullet hell game, so you have to kill mutant creatures. Yeah, so interesting. This one's out now for cloud, console, and PC. We talked about Raji. That's on. It's an ancient epic. That one's out on cloud, console, and PC. And then Last Stop as well. That's on the cloud, console, and PC. Blinks, the Time Sweeper. You remember Xbox's old mascots? We're talking OG Xbox.
Yeah.
So they are putting this on Game Pass on the 26th.
I might be playing that.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna go back and revisit that.
Yeah. So this is kind of like a celebration of 20 years of Xbox that they're doing this for. So yeah, I actually haven't seen. I mean, granted, I haven't paid attention too much, but I haven't seen too much in terms of Xbox games being kind of ported to the new systems. But that's cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Crimson Skies: High Road to Revenge is another one. It's kind of like a 1940s or 1920s themed action not a flight simulator, but like action airplane combat game.
Shoot 'em up.
Like
yeah.
So
which that's another one that was a massive, like, has a massive following. And when they like kind of rogue just dropped that info that was going to be added, a lot of people were excited because
because that was a really good series at the time. It was something unique, and air combat games were pretty. I think around that time even pretty popular. Like Ace Combat was like pumping out games left and right on the PlayStation 2. So I think this was Xbox's version of it. So both of these games, Blinks and Crimson Skies, are just on the cloud and console. On Tuesday, we're gonna get Microsoft Flight Simulator. So if you always had a dream of flying to exotic locations, and the detail work that they did on a lot of these locations is pretty damn top notch. Like they actually used actual satellite data to make this game. And I mean, just I can't imagine, like, I mean, you don't need to be, it says Flight Simulator, so I can't imagine it's going to be like, super time consuming in terms of trying to fly a plane, but I think mostly you're just going to love the locations that you can fly to. So
and I think I think we heard rumors or maybe confirmation that soon there should be some kind of flight stick or something coming out for the new consoles.
I would hope so, because I mean, especially if this game kind of takes off, because you can fly any manner of planes. You can fly small little Lear jets, those little private jets, or you can fly like the big wide body aircrafts too. So like passenger aircrafts.
Yeah, and they got that Hot Shots DLC that's coming out with the where you can play as flying the Hot Shot jets. Top Gun.
Yeah, Top Gun.
Yeah. Top Gun. Yeah.
You're thinking the movie Hot Shots.
Yeah.
Still one of the funniest movie series is out there. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, otherwise there's Lethal League Blaze coming out for cloud, console, and PC on the 29th. Basically, it's an anti-gravity game, ball game, something. I don't know. Looks interesting, but even now apparently it's the game is illegal according to the city or in the area that you live in, but now it's been pushed to underground, so it's super edgy. I don't know. You got Omno that's coming out. This one's a Game Pass on day one that's coming out. Pat, you were talking about this earlier today because this is a new release, but apparently it's a single player journey of discovery through ancient world of wonders, and it's created by one guy, Jonas Mankey.
Yeah,
that's kind of interesting. So it kind of looks like a little bit of like go ahead.
Oh,
it's a peaceful exploration.
Game.
This
kind of remind me of that one game by the Witness. That's what it kind of reminds me of a little bit.
This
probably
was,
less.
This was one of those. Yeah, this is one of those that when they first showed it.
Should we keep interrupting Jesse to make sure he doesn't say anything?
Yep.
I'm the host. Let me
talk. Every time he talks, we just gonna interrupt him. This is our podcast now.
We're taking over. We got the X.
When we seen this game, this was one of those that definitely was interesting to me. Is like when it comes to indie games, the indie games usually are what attract my attention most of the time over the bigger third party games, because I mean, when it comes to the bigger third party games, you kind of know what you're gonna like and what you're not for the most part, but the indie games can be very surprising. They can do things
I mean, that's
don't
really
to enjoy.
That's really the kind of benefit of Game Pass, is that it leads you to games that you probably would never have thought to play or even like be interested in playing, because as we know, eventually these games stay on Game Pass. They don't stay on Game Pass for long. So once they get removed from Game Pass, you can actually buy them for a 20% discount. So because you're a Game Pass subscriber, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, like I know there's some people didn't really care for it, but like when Ashen first came out, like that came directly to Game Pass, and like I was really excited that got added, and I played it, and it's, you know, very much a Souls kind of game.
Right, yeah, for sure.
And yeah, I mean, I loved it so much that when it left Game Pass, I ended up buying it, you know. And that's kind of, you know, like had it not been on Game Pass, I don't know whether I would have bought it or not, you know.
That actually happened to me recently. I was invested in Final Fantasy IX, and all of a sudden they took it off of Game Pass, and I'm like, damn it, I gotta buy it again. It's no big deal. It's no big deal.
Yeah, well, you know, hey, that's the thing. You know, like we still want to support games just because they're on Game Pass. You know,
right. Okay.
Hey, I'm gonna support them. I mean, you know, especially if they went out of the way and said, hey, you know, like we want people to be able to play our game on Game Pass. I'm even more, you know, like looking forward to trying to support them, be it, you know, like spending money on you know, other things outside of it or whatever.
Well, yeah, because if you like it, you'll buy it at the end of it. Like if it's a game you want to revisit to say like, oh, it's leaving Game Pass, I think I'll just buy it. Like, and I think that's a benefit to developers as a whole. So otherwise, we got Project Wingman that's coming out for the PC. This is a kind of like a dogfighting game, but a little bit more intense. So and then we got the Ascent, which it's like a isometric third person kind of twin stick shooter type, but it can be played solo and co-op, and it's kind of set in like a Mars cyberpunk style world, and it's kind of like a world that's overrun by corporations, and apparently the Ascent Group, which is one of the corporations that owns a significant part of the world, has just collapsed. So now you have to kind of like, it's like kind of like a survival game, so to speak, where you're doing odd jobs. And the game, as an isometric third-person action game, it looks gorgeous, like really gritty, really cyberpunk looking, run down, rustic. Just, I mean, it looks good. So this is coming out on July 29th on the cloud, console, and PC day one. So.
Yeah, this is another one of them that I'm definitely looking forward to giving a shot.
Yep, for sure. I was talking about that because I think the isometric third-person action game is it's been so overplayed, and like the market is just so saturated with these games. But this is probably one of the more unique ones that I've seen come out recently that really pushed the graphics to the next level. So Otherwise, that's pretty much it. That's coming out. What's leaving Game Pass actually is going to be It Lurks Below. This is going to be leaving at the end of the month, so July 31st. The Tourist and Undermine. But like I said earlier, if these are games you're still playing, you know, you can buy them with a 20% discount.
Yeah, and I feel like most of those are really, really old, have been out for quite some time now, for quite a few years.
Yeah, The Tourist, I think, has been out for at least a year. So
Tour. Actually, I think that game's like 6 or 7. I think that game's like 6 years old.
No.
The Tourist?
The Tourist,
it's probably closer to like 2 or 3.
Because I remember buying it new on the Switch.
Okay.
Oddly enough, it's one of the best running games on the Switch.
Yeah.
But I mean that's because it has a minimal graphic. It's minimal in terms of its graphics, but everything is hugely detailed. And if you like that Minecraft cubism look, and the frame rate is so silky smooth. But that's probably because the world's not populated with like, you know, immense graphic hardware. So
I forget, is that the one where you're like, it's just a lot of puzzle solving?
Pretty much, like you're this guy dressed like Tom Selleck from Magnum PI, and you're unearthing these ancient buildings and ancient civilizations, and you're basically taking a boat from island to island, unlocking all these different ancient sites, so to speak, because Yeah, I don't know. You're trying to unearth something or whatever, but it's a pretty unique game. It takes you to some pretty unique locations, and you meet some interesting people along the way. It's kind of tongue-in-cheek humor a bit, and a little bit of seriousness too. And it's a very quiet, easygoing, like kind of relaxing game too, actually. So
Until you try to start beating the high scores in the arcade and start ripping your hair out.
yeah, I stayed at that arcade for a little bit longer than I would like to have admitted, but I'm like, okay, I gotta keep playing this game.
And I wanted to get the 1,000 gamer score, so I had to high score all 3 of those.
Yep.
Well, honestly, I'll be honest. Like, I don't really care too much about like, I mean, yeah, I do.
Choose your words carefully. Choose your words carefully.
I guess I
know your audience.
It's not that I don't care about like achievements and all that stuff.
Yep, he said.
But I don't care about them as much as some people. But what I do enjoy is
what do you
when
mean
you
by
get
some people, bro.
Mm-hmm.
But I do enjoy like like when you get to see your friends list and see like their score for something, and it can kind of give you the chance to try to beat their score. Like I love that the trials games. The trials games were always a lot of fun to try to beat friends on your friends list.
See, achievements have a benefit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Gives you
encourages you to play more.
Yeah. So all right. Yeah, well, thank you for that nice piece about Game Pass.
Aw, thank you for calling it nice.
All right, so now we'll get into the Arsa news or the AX news, whatever you.
I like AX news.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing here, and this has kind of been a little bit of a hot topic, but so Psychonauts 2 will be getting a Series XS upgrade, and I think it was day one. I forgot to add my.
I would hope so after that.
But
long incubation period.
Yeah. Pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's day one. But yeah, so yeah, a lot of the big stink is a lot of people getting upset that there's not a PS5 version of it coming out. But like I just kind of wanted to bring it up because the problem is there never really was plans for a next generation version of this game period when it was made, because I mean this game is supposed to have been done here for years now.
Well, admittedly, the only upgrade that they're getting is 60 frames a second and 120 frames a second.
Yeah.
The resolution is pretty much staying the same comparatively from the Xbox One X as much. If you're playing on an old Xbox One, you're only going to be playing it in 1080p, but a max frame rate checked out at like 30 frames a second. But
and I would imagine quick resume is probably going to be something in it as well.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
So. But yeah, and so yeah, still, yeah, it'll be nice, especially when you're dealing with a platforming game, like having those higher frame rates. I think could be very useful. But like, all accounts of people who've kind of played it already, but aren't really allowed to say a whole lot about it yet, have been nothing but good things to say about the way it looks, and people are impressed by kind of like what it's doing and stuff. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm definitely looking forward to this game.
I am not. I was never a Psychonauts fan to begin with, so this. I mean, I appreciate Double Fine as a developer.
Yeah.
They've made some great games in the past, and really unique art style and unique storytelling. But I don't know, this game just, I don't know, it doesn't. I've seen trailers for it and it looks good, but it's, I don't know, it's just not interesting to me, I guess.
I'm excited for it.
Well, good for you.
Yeah.
I haven't finished the first one. I did play it, but I haven't finished it. I'll be honest, it was just a little hard for me to because it just is so out of date at this point. Like
you don't like waiting like 45 to a full 60 seconds between load times by like walking in and out of cabins and experiencing another 45 to 60 seconds of load time.
Oh my
Nothing-
God.
Nothing
It
will
was
be
horrible.
nothing will be worse than I've experienced, and now mind you, it's not officially on Dreamcast, but I have a copy of what the heck is that? I just blanked on it now. Half-Life. I have an unofficial copy of Half-Life for
Oh boy.
Dreamcast, and I'll tell you, every single time, like we were talking earlier about the fixed camera kind of stuff. Imagine if every single time the fixed camera changed in a Resident Evil game, it was a loading screen.
Well, what game was it? Alone in the Dark was like that.
Yeah, I have.
It was
Yeah,
because the disc would spin between each
Yep.
camera change, and
I have that game
we
for
have to
Dreamcast.
give props to Alone in the Dark, because Alone in the Dark was the first
Yeah.
to have that kind of like fixed camera angle third person mode. It's just Resident Evil just came and perfected it,
Yeah.
where they made it seamless, like there's no loading screens whatsoever.
Yeah.
Because they had static backgrounds. I think that was their benefit.
Yeah, and
Can I say, admittedly, part of this new generation is being a Series X owner and a PS5 owner. Like, I love the fact that there's like very little to no load times.
yeah,
I
Like,
love that.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
Playing games like Ratchet and Clank, where like you go to the title screen, right in the gameplay within like 2 seconds. Like, it's freaking amazing. It's just like, wow. Even like playing like, even like some of the older games, like if you play PlayStation 4 games on the PlayStation 5, like the load screens are just you just warp through them. Like, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, even games that traditionally have longer load screens, like Assassin's Creed, on the Xbox Series X, the PlayStation 5, it only took like maybe 3 seconds for it to, switch over to the map.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Control was one of those games that it made a major difference in load times for Control. And
for sure.
games like Red Dead Redemption 2, who have, had significant load times for
yeah, the way Rockstar would do it, it was like literally like a 2-minute loading screen when you started the game up.
Yeah,
so you would just
load
basically
the whole
hit
entire map.
Yeah, pretty much. So it's like you sit there and you're just like, okay, start game, and then just like walk away, go make yourself a sandwich, and then come back, and then still wait for the loading screen to get done.
Yeah, those famous like screens that change to different characters in the game.
Yeah.
Make you sit there for 15 minutes. But yeah, so yeah, any more thoughts on the Psychonauts 2?
Well, admittedly, this is not like, I mean, I guess I can understand PlayStation fans being a little upset by this, because from what I understand and reading this article on Forbes.com, is that I guess that the reason it doesn't run at 60 frames a second on the PlayStation 5, because there is no native PlayStation 5 version of this game.
Mm-hmm.
It is made, and this is the reason why I think, and this is why it's easier to put a game out on the Xbox Series X and take advantage of the hardware, because that's where PlayStation 5 and Series X differ. Mm-hmm. You can put out a decent update to a game that came out on the Xbox One to have it run at 60 frames a second, but you can't do that on the PlayStation 5 hardware.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you don't really literally rework the game. That's why there's so many games, there's so many Xbox One games that have this kind of speed boost, or this like upgrade boost, compared to PlayStation 5 games, because I imagine on PlayStation 5 you almost would have to like literally rework the game. You couldn't just update it.
Well, it would have to be like a hardware, because what's happening is the PlayStation does not have that AI learning.
Yeah.
That the Xbox One, the Series X has. And so that's what's helping them out, is the AI learning stuff is doing a lot of the adjustments to the game to make it run at those frame rates without them having to literally break down code and do everything on a code level. Like that's what's really impressive. Like, yeah, I mean, that I honestly think like once the generations kind of moves forward, there's a lot of things that AI learning is going to be able to do beyond just that. I think we're just kind of scratching
I don't
the
even
surface.
want to think of that. Like it's just kind of scares me a little bit to think like how AI can really control the games that we play in the future to where most games everybody will have different experiences with, and the AI will adjust to your play style automatically,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
interesting. But
But
interesting,
I mean,
interesting, scary, and a little bit exciting at the same time, I guess.
yeah, because I mean, ultimately, like when if you, I would go as far to say that 9 times out of 10, when you ask someone, like in the previous generations, what's something that games really need to get better at, and it's the AI, like the AI in game, like so many times the AI is just so bad, and like like when you get stuck with a character that's controlled by AI and they doing their own thing, a lot of the times you get frustrated because it's like they're not actually helping you, and a lot of times they'll actually just be a burden more than anything
Almost
else.
like a hindrance, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
But,
so
I
I
mean,
think if we can
hardware wise,
improve
that's
that.
hardware wise, that's the difference why it can't run on the PlayStation 5, because that would require, I think, extra development time from Double Fine, and I don't think, obviously, them being a Microsoft studio now, I don't think they're keen on that. So
Yeah.
sorry, PlayStation fans, you're just gonna have to kind of deal with this one, or just buck up and buy an Xbox Series X, bro.
I'll be honest. I could, and I kind of mentioned this before we started the show, but I could see them out of the goodness of their heart, like if
Nope.
they have some free time,
Nope.
maybe doing something with it, but it's not going to be something that they worry about anytime soon.
No,
You know.
it's a business. Don't forget, it's a business.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're not gonna right now. They're not gonna work extra for Sony.
Yeah. Yeah.
Microsoft's not gonna allow it.
Yeah.
And it sucks, but that's the nature of the business.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would love for that to happen.
Yeah.
To toss PlayStation fans a bone, but I just don't see that happening.
Yeah. Yeah. That's.
But otherwise, that's all I had.
You're right,
That's all I had to say about it.
Pat, you have anything else to add at all? No.
Nope.
All right. So the next thing, so we've kind of, Phil Spencer had done some interviews. He was on the Kind of Funny, podcasts, and so like we kind of been getting little tidbits here and there of little information about stuff, just through some of the things he kind of mentioned without bringing too much attention to anything. But so like we've kind of gotten a somewhat idea of Elder Scrolls, like kind of a time period in which it could be released, and so yeah, there's this article here that I got.
Yeah, he kind of like ghosted talking about Elder Scrolls 6 kind of in a backhanded comment where he said, I think the interviewer said like, "Oh, is Fable going to come out before Elder Scrolls?" And he said, "Yeah, absolutely." And he kind of followed it up with saying like, "Expect Fable in 2023, most likely." So that puts Elder Scrolls out to like 2024 or probably even later, which I wouldn't be surprised, because like you got to imagine, like, I mean, they got Starfield coming out next year in 2022, and then
they probably haven't even started building Elder Scrolls yet.
Yeah. Not full steam. They're probably in pre-production phase where they're just kind of nailing story, nailing lore, and all that other stuff. And I imagine like once that game releases, and they'll probably put together a small team to update it if need be, unless a Fallout 76 situation occurs. Yeah, then they'll go all hands on deck.
Well, yeah, and and we know that we've got the games that technically Sony will have the year exclusivity deal for. So I mean, like
it actually even says in the interview, he says the project's kind of intertwined, but it's good to think the Elder Scrolls 6 as still being in a design stage. So It's still being drawn up on pen and paper, so they probably don't even have any working concepts of the game as we speak.
Yeah. But like I was saying, we've got those games that are essentially done, but have a year exclusivity deal with Sony, and so they've got plenty of stuff to pad out in between the releases of those games that will be coming. So that's the thing, is there's I think we're probably all on the same page that we'd rather they take their time with those games, just make an amazing game that just blows us away and really takes advantage of next gen, of this gen's hardware, and and really does something that says that, hey, this is, we needed this hardware in order to be able to play it.
Well, yeah, they're using a new engine, so thankfully that engine that they were using for Skyrim and Fallout was just severely outdated. And it needs to get an upgrade. It needed to get an upgrade. So
yeah, because I know they've said in the past that they upgraded it, but it never really felt like they actually did a whole lot because there was still always janky, and their games would just have so many just little issues. Now I know some people didn't care about that and actually welcomed some of that stuff because it was funny at times, but at
funny
the same
haha
time,
or funny sad?
Both. We'll say both.
Yeah.
But I think now with especially with them joining Xbox, and Xbox does need to prove that they're going to be able to release some some really good high quality games that people
good AAA titles.
Yeah. So that I just there can't be too much room for that anymore. They've got to kind of move past that era of game building and have better products now. So we'll see. Hopefully they do.
Well,
do
Bethesda's going to bring it for them.
Yeah.
Bethesda's going to bring it for them. That's probably I mean, it costs a lot of money, but I think it's going to pay off for them in the long run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I hope so.
I hope so too.
Well, this generation, be you playing on PS5 or Series X, I'm excited. I'm excited for some good competition. I do personally feel like there are areas that Sony is really kind of slipping on, where there's some slippery slope there of some area that I do think that Xbox could just all of a sudden blow past them in. But but we'll see. And I mean, so be it if that does happen. Then hopefully Sony reacts the way that they need to try to compete, and we just see a good generation of competition. Because
Sony said it before in the past, where they've said they're doubling down on AAA titles, and I think they have 12 AAA titles in active development right now.
Yeah.
Something astronomical, where it's like, how many studios do you have? But that includes the gambit of probably Gran Turismo, racing games, a lot of the what Insomniac is doing, and there are other kind of development houses. But yeah, so they're doubling down on it as well, because they know Microsoft is going to start bringing it over these next couple of years. So
all right, and actually I'm gonna throw is there anything you would like to say, Pat, actually, about this first?
No.
Okay, there's something I'm gonna add really quickly that I completely forgot about. Did you guys watch the EA Play stuff then at all?
I caught the only thing I caught was the Dead Space
okay.
remaster. Everything else I could care less about.
Yeah, that's all I was gonna ask you guys about. Were you guys excited? Because I know, for me, I absolutely just love horror games. So I mean, Dead Space is right up there with Resident Evil for me, like
Mhm.
as some of the best games. And then right underneath that is probably that first Condemned game is still one of my favorite of all
Yeah.
time, which is another game franchise I wish they would redo. Like,
I don't think
like
that
have it.
developer's around anymore because I
Yeah,
think they went on to make the last game I think they made was Darkness 2,
yeah,
and I don't think they're around anymore after that. I'll have to go look
yeah.
at that.
I don't think they are either. I can't remember, but yeah, it's that like that was such a gem, a hidden gem on 360. Like that was such a good horror. Like
Mhm.
that game was, I think, the only game other than like the original Resident Evil, like when dude breaks through the wall that you're running down the hallway and all of a sudden dude just breaks through the wall and scares the
Yeah.
S out of you.
Yeah.
Like a
Right.
game, horror games don't really, those jump scares don't really get me too often. But man, like there's nothing like that in Condemned, when you're walking through these dark rooms and all of a sudden you just see a shadow of someone running
Mhm.
past the doorway down the hall and you're just like, oh s. And then
It was.
next thing you know, there was another pathway that they could go, and they're running at you with like a pipe or whatever ready to bash your head, and you're just, oh
Yeah.
shit.
So
Man.
actually, it's made by Monolith Studios,
Oh, okay.
and they made the recent Middle Earth games. So
Yeah.
I don't know if they're working on anything right now.
Yeah,
Um, Monolith Studios is a Warner Brothers developer now, so I imagine they're working on the next game in the Lord of the Rings universe. I don't know.
maybe Xbox acquires them. Because that was another thing I forgot about. There's been a lot of speculation because there was I don't know if you guys there was someone from Xbox had posted something congratulating someone on their acquisition by
Mm-hmm.
Microsoft or something like that, and then deleted it. And like when you tried to click on the link, he deleted it quick enough that people didn't. No one actually, for the first time, it feels like ever, no one got a screen capture of what it was or
Mm.
who it was or something like that. So like that had kind of been in the news recently too, and but there's been some talk that possibly some of those Warner Brother studios that they're going to sell out you know by themselves instead of just
That
selling the whole entire thing.
that would be
So
interesting because WB Games had a good string of good games come out. Obviously, the Middle
yeah,
Earth games were very successful, and
yeah,
Mortal Kombat was hugely successful for them, and so yeah, well,
yeah,
whatever. But
but
yeah,
yeah,
they're still around. Nothing on their website that indicates what game they're working on right now. But
okay,
Yeah, it's just
they
rumored to
actually
be an open world game.
okay.
yeah,
Um, I know. Obviously they developed Fear, which was a really good shooter.
yeah, that's one of those that I still I played most of the first one a long time ago now at this point,
Mm.
but I never really played too much of the second. I think there was like 3 or 4 of them, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was 3 of them.
Yeah,
Otherwise, yeah, I'm excited for that Dead Space
yeah,
remaster. I still think the original stands up on its own as still a great
hmm
game experience. So it's not
hmm
like, if you haven't played it, you'd go back to it and play. It would play very janky. But it's a PS3 and Xbox 360 game, so it still
yeah,
stands out as like you're gonna get a good AAA game experience playing it now. It's just
hmm
obviously whenever EA Motive releases this game, which I don't think we have a release date at this point. Yeah, it's gonna look even more amazing and more
yeah,
of a love letter to fans of the series because they're
yeah.
actually working with members of the fan community.
Okay, yeah, nice. Yeah, because see, that's the thing is what I really want them to do is, and I think at this point now, like, I think it would be safe to say that the Resident Evil franchise in particular of their remakes of their games is like almost a poster child for this new era redoing games of like where they just nailed it out of the park. And
Resident Evil 2 remake was so good.
yeah,
It was a
Agreed.
masterpiece. Like I hate to think like I like that game better than the original because
yeah,
I
do
loved
too.
Resident
I
Evil
do
2 with a
too.
passion. And you know, the fact that they remade my favorite game of all time practically and
Yeah.
made it even better is just like icing on the cake.
Yeah, the once that game came out, I literally all I did was I sat down and I played it until I beat it with both characters. Like it was just that game, and I was not playing anything else until I finished it. And I almost finished the whole entire game, both playthroughs, and I think I finished it in 2 or 3 days. So
Nice.
which with not having a lot of free time was pretty quick turnaround for me.
Yep.
But yeah, so like any if they can hit Dead Space with that kind of passion and love for the the original game, and give it that nice TLC, I would be all for it. I'm all for it because those games, I still need to. I still would like to go back and play 3 again, even though I know a lot of people didn't really care for that game. I just, for me, I just love the franchise too much that I was willing to, after the first and the second one, and they gave you so much good game time of just playing excellent games. I was able to overlook some of the things in the third one.
It
I don't
wasn't
hate it as
terrible.
much. Yeah,
But
I don't hate
it clearly wasn't the best in the series. But
no.
I have a soft spot for 2. I think 2 is my favorite. So Pat and I, we talked about this earlier that if this one's successful, they better start working on a remake for 2.
Yeah, two is the best in the series.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of.
I imagine this will be successful. I imagine it will be for longtime fans and even new fans that maybe missed it. But they better be thinking like we got to remake 2 right away, because they did that with Resident Evil 2 remake, and then they remade Resident Evil 3 like a year later. So that led me to believe they were probably in co-development at the time. So.
I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Can you imagine high-res graphics? We're talking Series X, PlayStation 5 graphics of that needle going into your eye. Could you imagine that?
Oh,
yeah,
dude.
They should just, what if you were to change the perspective so you actually saw the needle coming into your eye?
Yeah.
Oh, bro, and then have the detail of like everything blurred except the needle like going in. Oh my God.
Yeah,
that would be worth it just to put it on the PlayStation VR just for that moment. Jeez.
So I wanted to bring that up because I figure you guys were right up there with me with like just loving that franchise. And
yeah, sure.
It's one of my favorite horror franchises.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So I got some extra content here. Extra content.
I like it.
So the one thing I kind of, I was talking with you guys before the show, the whole lawsuit with Activision stuff in California kind of came up, and like there's been murmurs and talks, over the years of a couple of different developer, like companies that have had some, not so great things happening in in the workplace. And so the lawsuit kind of stuff, information was getting shared on, I seen it on Twitter, from some, actually there's a couple of people I follow on Twitter that are in the business and actually had said, like, posted it and said, this is why I left Activision, being female, people that were working in these places. And so they kind of are getting sued because of the frat boy like work environment.
Well, Pat, you said Alana Pierce made a mention of it, and she kind of said it in a sly comment.
Yeah, it wasn't active. The comment wasn't at Activision, but it's the industry in general
Yeah.
has a very frat boy. Like even uh, some of the news agencies, like she worked at Rooster Teeth and IGN, but even they still had people that did not treat their women with very much respect.
Yeah. Yeah, and let me add Activision slash
Putting it loosely.
Blizzard, for this lawsuit in particular, because Blizzard now is part of, Activision. So there's still some gray areas to where these things are happening, but I'm gonna be honest, I could see this kind of stuff happening in the section of the people working on your Call of Duties, and where it's like,
This was happening in sections of people doing your World of Warcraft. This actually was
yeah.
Blizzard.
Oh, was it actually more
Yeah.
Blizzard
Yeah.
than?
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because
Well,
I
because
the article thing I read didn't really go it talked about the things in question what was happening, but I didn't really see any like particular in that first article that I read of like nailing down like what areas.
One of the
that-
names called out was the creative director of World of Warcraft as
Okay.
being very handsy and asking a lot of uncomfortable questions, inviting female employees back to his hotel room, constant nagging even if they told him no.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, the one thing that they brought up that really was, I mean, don't get me wrong, like none of this should be taken lightly, but the one thing that really stuck out to me is, that someone literally took their life on a work trip, because one of the employees was
Their
sharing,
manager.
like, yeah, sharing nude photos of her at like Christmas party, and like just awful things, like, and just, I mean, just unspeakable things that I was just like sickened by, like, listening to or reading
Well,
this.
yeah,
And
because in this particular retreat, this manager wanted to engage this woman sexually, so he brought butt plugs and like other paraphernalia, and I think they were at a party event too, and they were showing pictures of her naked. I mean, however
Yeah.
way they found it, I mean, like what we talked about earlier, is that they men engaged in cube crawls,
Yeah.
where basically women were subjected to cube crawls, which male employees drink copious amounts of alcohol, apparently at work. I don't know why
Yeah.
why that's acceptable. And they crawl their way through various cubicles in the office and often engage in inappropriate behavior toward female employees. So I can only imagine if, like, a woman's wearing a skirt or something like that, or shorts or something, and yeah, they crawl through and take pictures of them in inappropriate places, or do other freaking middle school aged bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, like reading this and just learning about this, I honestly, at this point, like, I've completely written anything to do with Activision, Blizzard. Like, until something is done, or there's a change, like a dramatic change, and proof that they're doing something, because the fact that this has gone on, and like you said, like drinking and stuff in the workplace, like, I understand, like, if you're having like a Christmas party or something, where obviously it's not work time, it's we're having a party, we're having something going on, and not, there's a difference between that and drinking while you're at work, supposed to be doing work, and doing, and then obviously, no matter what time, doing these awful things. Like, for that to go on, I mean, the very top has to know there's, you can't tell me that there's anyone who didn't know these things were going on.
Yeah, and that's actually accused of in the lawsuits that the top did know. These women have gone to HR,
Yeah.
and these women have actually faced retaliation for going to HR. They
Mhm.
would be passed up for promotions, or they'd be transferred to divisions that they wouldn't have wanted to go to in the beginning, or just basically treated like crap afterwards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were even deprived of work in certain instances where,
Mhm.
like, there were special projects going on that women were not even considered to be part of because of this, childish retaliation.
Yeah. And like even just like like having kids and knowing the things that women have to go through when you have a young a young, very very young newborn child, and them getting kicked out of the room where the lactation room because the guys got something more important to do, like that kind of shit. It's just like, are you kidding me? Like what kind of disgusting ass people are, like, so yeah, like I not 1 cent of my money is going to go to anything that any of these people have anything to do with at this point, and for the foreseeable future, until something dramatically is done about this, and people are have end up taking responsibility for this stuff and punished for it. Like at this point it feels like some of these areas just need to be completely gutted, like, or possibly just like I don't know. Like honestly, this is so like absurd and just disgusting that, like, do you, like, at this point, do you just completely get rid of it? Like, I don't know. Like it's just insane to me. I don't even know what they could do to redeem themselves at this point.
I know what
You
they could
know?
do.
Yeah, they can take a strong stance against it now. And like Stoy and I, we talked about this at extreme length in our podcast this
Yeah.
morning about, like, we keep hearing about these situations come up and up, but nothing seems to happen. And so we offered some tips about, how can we as people, like, I guess, discourage this kind of behavior. And
Yeah.
we actually didn't talk about the one you brought up, and that was boycott.
Yeah.
If the best way to talk to a business is to, is with your wallet.
Yep.
Don't buy their products,
Yeah.
forgo the next Call of Duty, forgo the next Warcraft expansion.
Yeah.
Or just remove your Warcraft subscription.
Yeah.
I'd actually be curious to look into this in the next year to see how many people have dropped their Warcraft subscriptions, because as we know, this is commonplace in Blizzard Studios and their Warcraft development. So it'd be interesting to see if a lot of people pull their subscriptions from it.
Yeah.
I know Blizzard got into trouble with this a few years ago about some comments that they made, and a lot of people pulled their subscriptions from them as well.
That was the whole China thing.
Yeah, that was the whole China thing. Yeah, when they were like,
the
they
free
took that
Taiwan
prize,
or free Hong Kong.
Yeah, they took that guy's prize money away. But
and then they stopped people from actually unsubscribing from World of Warcraft.
Yeah, fuckers.
Yeah.
But like another thing we talked about is just, generally as like us as human beings, when we see the culture, it's like we have to call it out as we see it. And I kind of brought up the interesting topic of just like, why don't you ask that person why the hell you would do something so inappropriate or say something so inappropriate, and just kind of gauge what the answer is. 9 times out of 10, you're going to get a childish second grade style answer where it's like, well, I squeezed her boobs because she's got big boobs. It's like, that's your reasoning, bro? Do you know how you sound right now?
Yeah.
You sound childish. And, ultimately what that may end up is retaliation against that person calling it out. But I mean, it's a small price to pay because we need to keep that steam rolling. We can't let the fear of reprisal stop us from that. And that's also the problem in the culture, is that the culture protects the accused sometimes more than the accusers. So the women that are the victims in this case, accusing.
Shaming.
Yeah, they're either victim shaming, or even the people that are being accused of the unnecessary or disruptive behavior. Even if the evidence is plain as day, those people are still protected. A lot of these guys still have jobs. They have high-paying jobs. They get promotions. They get pay raises. They're still walking around talking about women's boobs and rape culture. out in front of everybody, and these people still have jobs and they're still quote unquote respected. So that's my problem, is that these people hold high statuses and they need to be removed from these high statuses and almost like get blacklisted, honestly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
because HR also protects people. So like if this guy got arrested because of 5 accusations of rape or 5 accusations of sexual misconduct, the new employer doesn't have the right to ask, why was this person fired? Because that company's HR is under obligation to not share that information, which is bull to begin with. So
yeah, like at this point, I feel like I'd almost want a proverbial, like, not really, but a stoning, like where these people need to
just
come
kick
out.
them all in the nuts.
Yeah.
Kick them all in the nuts.
you make them,
grab all the guys,
come
line them
out.
up.
Well,
Kick
you said, like make them like tell, like say why they did this, and just completely put them in a situation where they're being humiliated and made felt just as uncomfortable as the women that they were, like doing these things to, like make them, shame them.
9 times out of 10, the women aren't going to report this. They have fear of being shamed, or just like we said, it's if we see this happening, like in our workplace or just in life, bring it up, like be like, hey, why are you doing this? Or that's not right. Or just like Stoy said, why did you do this?
Because it may make people reflect even themselves. Instead of being accused and being shamed, they get defensive. Because humans are emotional creatures. So if they get attacked, because of a behavior they're doing, they're going to get defensive about it, and they're going to try to defend themselves. When you ask them a question, it kind of lowers that wall, lowers that barrier, and then now they have to think about it. Why is a 40-year-old man crawling between cubes drunk while at work groping women? Why is that?
Which you see that tactic a lot when it comes to political debates, or like when politics get together and they're talking about different kinds of things. It's always questions, and a lot of times people will try to dodge them, but you put these guys in a situation where they, like, well, we can sit here all day if you like, until you want to tell us, what you need, you're part of the, what you need to be saying about this question, because we've got all day, like,
answer the question. Answer the question. That's basically it. Repeat it. Answer the question, please. And if you're not going to get a good answer, it's because most of the times guys think with their dick more than their brain, and they think more emotional than rational. Because we all know this is not rational behavior. This is emotional behavior, because when they're having a good time with their buddies, it's like all those emotions fly out. No one's thinking rationally about this, because rationally this is despicable. This is disgusting.
And then add alcohol to it on top of it, and now you've got just a complete disaster. Where like very inappropriate.
I'm sure if I showed up to work intoxicated, which luckily I don't ever drink, but if I did that, I would be actually sent right back home.
I
told
think
to take personal time.
I'd be fired immediately, because at my line of work, impossible. Cannot. I would not even be able to function. My day to day.
So I just really wanted to talk about that, because like, to our listeners too, like, this is, it really is in our court now to make decisions of, like, like what we personally want to do to tell these people and these companies that it's got to stop, and this stuff should not ever have the chance to get as out of line as this has. Like I mean, there was a lot of things that were being ignored for it to get as far as it did, with this, and we've got to, and I've said this in the past with these kind of things, because unfortunately, I'm sure this is something that unfortunately will never truly 100% go away. I hope it does. That would
No,
be
it
great. But yeah, but that's the thing, is it won't. And and I understand. Like, I'll never tell people that not to buy these products or not to do this or not to do that, because that's ultimately, that's your choice. And in the end, when there are going to be innocent people who are getting punished along with these people. But at some point too, you've also got, if you've got information and you truly are, innocent in this situation, I hope those people step up and say, and drop their, spill the beans, or let them know what they've seen, and and help hold these people accountable for what they've did. um like
Well,
that
when we say
that's
hold people accountable for it, we need to punish them. There
yeah,
needs to
yeah,
be consequences. There needs to be ramifications for this kind of
yeah,
behavior. It's not just
yeah,
simply going on YouTube or going on Twitter and saying, I'm
yeah,
sorry for what I did, and thinking you're going to be absolved of this behavior. There needs to
yeah,
be more
yeah,
ramifications and repercussions to this, because that's what's going to stop the behavior. Because if
yeah,
men act like children, then we need to treat them like children. So punishing them is going to be the only way that this behavior is going to change. And once
yeah,
we see a lot of big people start to go down for this stuff, that's going to have ripple effects throughout the rest of the video game developer world, because we know this isn't just isolated with Blizzard. I mean, Ubisoft got into some shit last year with this.
yeah,
So once we start seeing people go down for this behavior, that's going to change the behavior everywhere else. I guarantee it. And we, like I said, we need to take strong stances, and we can't. That's something from a business standpoint the higher ups need to do. So whoever the higher ups are at Blizzard need to start kind of taking heads.
yeah. And
They
we
need to
can
start taking heads.
let them know that we're paying attention, and that we want things done. But yeah, ultimately they have to be the ones to make those changes.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said though, like
Until we
me
start seeing that,
personally,
the behavior is not going to change.
yeah.
My
And
personal
me
opinion.
me personally, I'm not, they're just never seen, nothing, none of the Activision, whatever, I don't care who it was that was doing this stuff. Like, just, it's just easier to just say, I'm done with you for now, until something has been done. Like, they're not getting my money. But again, that's my choice and how I want to deal with it, and let
this
them
is a
know
pretty
that I'm
serious
paying
lawsuit
attention.
because the state of
Yeah.
California is
Yeah,
suing.
had to do it. Yeah.
So this is going to be, this isn't just one person suing them. This is
Yeah.
the state of California, the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing. So this is something that they're going to have to really respond to.
Yeah. They done fucked up.
Yeah. You done fucked up, Blizzard. Well, and even just like one of their executives like came on the defense and say a lot of this is outdated. Like, so
Yeah.
it needs to be
What
addressed.
does that matter? Yeah.
What does it matter if it happened 10 years ago or 10 days ago? It still needs to be addressed.
Yeah, because the problem is if it happened if it happened a long time ago, but it's still happening today, then it's still relevant. It's it's always going to be relevant, because that kind of stuff, like we said, doesn't just go away on its own. Like there, if that didn't go away then, it's not going to go away now. So it's so
heads need to roll. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah.
I feel bad that these people were raised in shitty households with shitty parents that taught them that this behavior is acceptable. So, it's like, man, what kind of shitty parents you had? But that's a whole nother issue.
I do want to speak out to the audience. If this is happening to you in your place of work, don't hold back. Like, find someone that you trust and tell them about it. See if there are ways that can be figured out, so that you're not always put in these uncomfortable situations, and that it gets to such extreme that you could very well be sexually assaulted.
Yeah, and the more people that know and can help you document things and document situations, and build, ultimately, you may feel like you're out of luck, or like you're not going to be able to do anything about it. But yeah, I mean, we've just got to basically get to a point of where we've got to, if
band
someone
together
were working
in these
Yeah.
situations, because
Yeah.
kind of like what Pat said is like, it maybe if you're falling flat at HR, maybe telling some of your trusted coworkers like, hey, I just experienced this kind of behavior, and you start to get allies that can kind of help support you, and even just if they be aware of it, like all of a sudden, yeah, I just saw that happen to you,
or maybe he did it to me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if they can kind of find a trend of inappropriate behavior, then obviously you can get more ammunition when you go to the higher ups or even HR or something. So
yeah, I mean it's sad that things need to be this way, but it's like it's like the friend system that a lot of women have when they go out to bars and stuff. You kind of got to band together and kind of watch out for each other, and it's unfortunate that you have to have something like that in a workplace, but if that's what it takes to hopefully stop these things or punish people for it, I mean, so be it.
Moms just need to raise their sons better. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, and there is some of that in culturally in general that like I feel like we're trying to move more away from as a culture, but like there's just there I mean, go back and watch 80s movies, things like Porky's and even like Revenge of the
watch
Nerds.
Mad Men. Watch Mad Men.
Yeah.
What the culture was like in the 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it was. I mean, admittedly, we're getting better as a culture because this has been a generational thing for as long as tribes have been around, because women in the past, we're talking like centuries and centuries ago, women were trophies, women were conquests. When you would like in Viking culture, when you would invade villages, you would take their women, and in other kind of warring tribes, women were almost traded like they were trophies. Because obviously they didn't value women enough that they could obviously view them as an equal. Yeah. And this has been a problem with I guess men in general, is that that culturally we just we're getting better, but we're still having a hard time getting over it.
We're not getting better fast enough.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I think there and that's where I think a lot of things can come down even to even on a scientific level of like evolution and stuff. Like there without, I'm not going to go too in detail because it's a little too gross, but I mean, genetically, even just like the way that we were built, and like the conceiving of children and like how it happens there. There's been writings of like men would fight over who would be the one to impregnate someone, and like women would just be like 5-6 different guys, and like all trying to be the one. There's like a long time ago, but we've kind of moved.
Well, who was that king of England that had 5 wives and executed
King
2 or 3 of them? King Henry. Yeah. Because he wanted a male heir, and he married 5 women, killed 2 of them because they didn't produce him a male heir, and then naturally in the end,
don't forget he also created his own religion because the church wouldn't let him divorce
his first wife. Yeah, that's right. So then also and ironically enough, England had one of the most powerful queens in history, which was his offspring, Queen Elizabeth.
Yeah.
So irony, but whatever.
But so it's we're definitely moving luckily in a better direction, but there's still some things that need to be stamped out here and there, and So. All right, so our final topic for today, you kind of, Stoy, you had kind of brought this up to me a little bit, and going back again, like I was saying earlier, Phil Spencer had been on the Kind of Funny podcast and did like one of their Xbox kind of centric show episodes with Kind of Funny, and Phil Spencer had talked about an update possibly to the controller in the possibly in the future, looking at what PlayStation 5 has done and stuff, and taking things that may benefit Xbox moving forward. And
This
so
kind of
yeah,
I didn't realize that this happened, but in January they sent a survey out to owners of the Series X, which I'm wondering where I didn't get no survey unless it got sent to my spam folder or something like that. But one of the questions that they asked is, would you like to see some of the kind of PlayStation 5 DualSense controller features on an Xbox controller?
Yeah.
So I don't know what the results were, but I imagine it was probably everyone was in favor of it. So
yeah, I've had only a little bit of a little bit of gameplay with the PS5 controller, and I did like the some of the feedback stuff. I personally, I'm not quite sold yet on the like the pulling of the trigger and making it harder, because I have heard some horror stories already of people's controllers breaking, those mechanisms breaking because of them pushing on it too hard to fight the thing.
That's not how controllers work, people. Pushing the button harder doesn't make your attack harder. Okay?
Yeah. Except for now, they're kind
But
of
it makes me jump higher.
No, it doesn't, Pat. No, it doesn't.
Just like when you jump and you move the controller when you jump, that makes you jump farther.
Yeah.
No.
Or when you stick your tongue out, it makes you jump higher too.
No. Or when you sit in front, when you lean forward, that adds more precision to your button presses.
I mean, maybe that does. Maybe there's a little bit of psychology involved in that. But no, if I'm playing a racing game and I'm trying to brake, pushing the L2 button harder does not make me brake harder. Okay, so it's just one of those things. So people need to learn how to treat their controllers properly.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that.
Oh yeah, actually,
that haptic feedback, it kind of is that working that way, where if you push it, like you've got to, like push through it or whatever. But
yeah, like, I mean, the haptic feedback does give a little bit of resistance to certain, like especially if you're playing like a first-person shooter and certain guns have certain resistance features. I noticed this a lot in Call of Duty Cold War. Every gun had a different feel. To the triggers, which is kind of crazy. But like in racing games in particular, when I was playing World Rally Championship, if my brakes all of a sudden failed, all of a sudden my L2, I had so much free play in it. If all of a sudden I'm like, my gearbox broke, I'm getting weird feedback in my gas pedal, the R2 button. Yeah. So it's like it adds another sense of realism that I didn't think was necessary. But all of a sudden, once you're experiencing it, it's like it'd be nice to have. So I imagine Microsoft probably didn't think it was worth investing in. But now they see how PlayStation 5's controller is doing, and they're like, well, maybe this will work.
And let's be honest, like the PlayStation Move, that didn't come out until after we kind of got an idea of how that stuff would work with the Wii remotes, and they kind of improved upon it. So I mean, it's not uncommon for companies to see what the other one's doing and then try to improve upon it.
Well, so, PlayStation 3, their first controller didn't have rumble features in it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, once the fans outcried and said, we want rumble.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden they came out with the DualShock 3.
Yeah. So, I definitely, I can see the use for that kind of stuff, and like what you were talking about, like when it's really, done well, and you've got like the things where you're immersed, where there's only so much you can do in a racing game to immerse you into it, and to add those kind of little details of things that where you can start to almost like drive or play the game without looking at it at some point, when you can notice the the feels of things or whatever that don't seem right.
So like imagine playing Forza Motorsport, the new one coming out with these kind of features in it. And if you're playing in full simulation mode where things can break, if all of a sudden you're losing power in your brakes, you could start to feel it. You get the tactile feedback of the trigger pull. Or like if all of a sudden you break your transmission and you can't get past third gear, where all of a sudden your gas pedal starts to vibrate, or your steering. All of a, I don't think the joystick could be affected, but like it would be crazy if all of a sudden like you lose steering and all of a sudden you start to get a little bit of rumble in your joystick. That'd be interesting.
Or I was even thinking what would be cool is if like all down the handle, the sides of the Xbox controller, there was little sensors. So like if a car is slightly tapping your back bumper, you'd feel it down towards the bottom palm of your hand. You could feel like a little like a movement.
PlayStation 5 has that. PlayStation 5 has that.
Okay.
Yeah. So like if you get bumped from your right side, only the right side of your controller vibrates.
So like so one of the things like talking about this though that I wanted to bring up, and we don't know a whole lot about it yet, but it was kind of, there was an article I was reading about someone who had experienced Flight Simulator on the Xbox Series X, and they kind of talked about some of the things that they their experience and where some of the experience was falling flat for them a little bit, or there was not really falling flat, but there was just some technical issues. Now, mind you, this is a pre-release version of it that they're playing. But one of the things that he brought up that I think could really benefit from an update to the Xbox controller is he talks about so when you're in the cockpit mode, even in the Xbox version, at some point your controller acts as a mouse cursor, so it can be very slow and tedious to move that cursor over buttons and switches and gauges and stuff in your cockpit. So like the PS5 and PS4 had it as well, had that touchpad. Now, like if they were to add something like that was similar, where you could have like a mouse touchpad part of it that could easily, speed up that process of those, PC style interfaces for
I don't think that's possible with a controller. I just really don't. You'd have to create like your own peripheral. So imagine like the game Steel Battalion for the original Xbox. With the immersiveness of that game that they wanted to make, they had to literally make a whole joystick console that was about as wide as a coffee table. So but I just don't think controllers in their current form can add to that sense of realism. Like that's why almost like Microsoft, those flight simulators were always historically played on PC because of that very reason.
This is the only time we've ever had a console version. But no, I'm just talking like that touchpad though, of just having that ability to having like something that's much more like the touch mouse pad that you have on a laptop. It's still not the best way to do a mouse. A mouse is always going to be, I think, best actually having one plugged in. Which, and that's the thing. I don't.
Well, Xbox has keyboard and mouse support.
So that's what I was going to say. Is I wonder if, I would imagine that Flight Simulator is going to have that ability where you can do the, like they have for some of their games already, like they have the dual support where you can use your keyboard and mouse to do certain things that you want to, but you can still use your controller for whatever you want to use that for as well, right? So I don't, like I obviously once the game's out and we get to see how that stuff works, but like I do think that there is room for the controller on Xbox to grow. Like I love, they still, in my opinion, have the best controller when it comes down to just overall, but I would not be against them trying to make the experience better, or or have more options on the controller day
Yeah,
one.
I don't think we'll see it this year if they do a controller upgrade.
Yeah.
It may be something next year, but they probably actually took those survey results seriously, and maybe they're developing it right now. I don't know. Maybe we will see it by Christmas or something like that. But
yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine they're not sitting on this and saying, well, whatever.
Yeah. And I think I think that's that's the right way to go about it, is you really let someone else invest the money in that new tech and see how it does. And if there's a demand for it, okay, well then we can think about spending money and trying to do our version of it. Because like if the PS5 controller came out and the populace overall was not really impressed with it, well then you saved all that money of trying to compete with something that you didn't know whether it would be a hit.
That's why that survey was definitely a good idea on their part.
Yeah. So yeah, Pat, is there anything in particular that?
No, I mean, I'd be happy to see haptic feedback at least on the controller. So
Yeah.
That's one of the things I absolutely love about my PS5 is the controller. The haptic feedback, just the weird like sensations of the triggers.
Yeah, overall I definitely give Sony props, because it's like it's no surprise I was not a fan of the PS4 controller at all. It just felt too easy to, like, I could just twist it and it would snap in half.
Well, that was the PS3 and PS2 controllers. Like, honestly, those things felt like I would hold on to them and just one squeeze and they would break. The PlayStation 4 was a slightly better, a slightly more upgraded version, but still, like, kind of felt a little bit flimsy.
Yeah, those back triggers on the PS4 controller, there's just like so exposed and out there that they just felt like I just was worried that those would be able to break off easily if you like set the controller down wrong or something. But yeah, like having that PS5 controller in my hand, it just feels so much nicer. Like because
And Microsoft comes out with their own controller where they say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah. Which, like I said, is never a bad idea. But if there is a demand for some, added features, that's just, it's easy to add stuff, like if you got a nice base, perfected, and you add stuff to that, that's the easy part in my opinion. But all right, well, that'll end out the show for today. So we'll throw up the X.
That's my little tiny X.
But before we exit, Pat, why don't you let people know where they can find you?
Well, you can find me on EXPcast, the video game podcast where we talk about video games. I actually don't have a Twitter, so the best place you can probably find me is on the Boss Rush Discord. But yeah, come in, say hi, say we can do this, and that way we know that you listen to our podcast.
And you listen to the Arsenal X podcast. If you go on the Arsenal X Discord page and comment, drop in and say, we can do this. I read that off a McDonald's coffee cup at our episode this morning. That's where that came from. So.
Yep.
And Stoy, where can we find you?
Well, same. You can find us, basically, I'm part of the EXPcast as well, so you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at EXPcast. You can actually find me on Discord. I'm obviously pretty active in there too as well. And I actually do a lot of writing for Boss Rush Games. So if you go to bossrushgames.com, you can actually find a lot of my articles and stuff. I'm the head Xbox writer. So generally I put in once a month Game Pass updates, sometimes twice a month. Do some Game Pass updates on what's coming to the service and stuff. And actually, I got a little project in the works where I'm planning on a little Xbox project of different things you can do with your Xbox Series X that you probably didn't know you could do. Like, say for example, taking your achievement, the achievements that you gain, taking those pictures and using those as backgrounds in your in your Xbox home screen, and even just like creating groups and stuff like that. So that's a project I'm gonna be working on. I think maybe this week or next week or something like that.
Yeah, I had to. Well, it was the Xbox One, but I had to look it up. I would imagine it's probably the same for the Series consoles, but you
Pretty
have to
much.
you had
Xbox
to
said if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
yeah, yeah. I had to reset the Xbox to factory or whatever, and you know, like it doesn't really tell you how to do that, but you have to hold like the Xbox power button and the disc eject button, or no, yeah, I think it was either the disc eject button or the controller.
I thought
button.
it was just the power button. Because
No,
you're talking about putting it into a factory reset.
Well, it's the special menu that pulls up where it asks
Yeah,
you
I
if
thought
you
I
wanna
thought it
delete
literally.
everything.
I thought it was literally
Okay.
just the power button because I remember doing that when I sold. Well, I think I had to do something to one of my Xboxes recently where I had to do that. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, but anyways, yeah, like there's like little things like that you know, like you can figure out, but yeah, they don't really tell you those things. Yeah, it would be nice for people to know just for future reference. So yeah,
So
that's a
keep
cool
in mind.
idea.
Keep an eye out over at Boss Rush Games. Hopefully, I'll have maybe some of that stuff done.
All right. And yeah, you can find me, Jesse, anywhere as Phantom NXS. So yeah, we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.